Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name today is Your Authors program, and my name is Diana Oliva-Posner, the Principal Librarian for the Exploration and Creativity Department of the Los Angeles Public Library. And I'm here today with my amazing colleague, young adult librarian Teresa Mons from the Westchester Loyola branch. Hola.
Hola.
As well as an high school, Ashleen Singh. And she's been with Ms. Teresa at Westchester Loyola for 4 years?
I think more.
2 years?
Two. She was on TLC project. So.
Wonderful. And it's our pleasure to host the Your Author series today. So please feel free to use the chat box to communicate your thoughts and questions anytime.
We want to thank our generous donors, the Lenore S. and Bernard A. Greenberg Fund, and the Library Foundation for helping the library bring these amazing author and illustrator programs to all of you. Today, we have the pleasure of hosting Latinx young adult author Romina Garber.
Hi! Thank you for having me.
Okay, Romina Garber is a New York Times and internationally best-selling author whose books include Lobizona and the Zodiac series. She was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, raised in Miami, Florida, and now lives in Los Angeles. As a teen, Romina landed her first writing gig, College She Wrote, nationally syndication, and she hasn't stopped writing since. When she's not working on a YA novel, Romina can be found producing movie trailers, taking photographs, or daydreaming about buying a new drum set. She is a graduate of Harvard College and a Virgo to the core.
Welcome, Romina.
Welcome, Romina.
Thanks so much. And thanks, Ashley. It's nice to meet you.
That was a great introduction, Ashley.
Yes.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, too.
Okay, we're going to start off. And Romina, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your novel, Lobizona? We would love to hear you read a passage from your book also.
Absolutely. So I'm Romina, and I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I grew up in Miami, Florida. My first published series is called Zodiac, which is right behind me. And it's a 4-book space opera. I kind of describe it as like Star Wars meets like, I don't know, Percy Jackson. I have no idea, but like something. But basically, it's set in a galaxy where every planetary system or house is inspired by the zodiac signs. And my follow-up series is Lobizona. And I've got it right here, and it just came out. And it's about Manu, who is 18, who is growing up in Miami with her mom in hiding because they're undocumented, but also because she has very otherworldly eyes, which would draw too much attention, which is very dangerous for them. And so when Manu's mom is arrested in an ICE raid, Manu's left alone, and she decides to follow all these clues her mom left behind as to who her father was and why they ran from his criminal family, why they're still on the run from them, which, being in Miami, invariably leads to the Everglades and a secret world buried in the swamp that is kind of ripped from the pages of Argentine folklore, where every boy is a lobizón or a werewolf and every girl is a bruja or a witch. Of course, Manu doesn't fit either one, and therein lies the problem. And kind of worsening that is that, like, unlike in this world where her residency is illegal, in this other world, her whole existence is illegal. So it's just outlawed. So it kind of raises the stakes for her. And what I'm going to read to you is the prologue, which is super short. And it doesn't include the fantasy elements of the book, but I do think it talks to the heart of it. And it's very relevant right now for reasons that will be clear in a second. Prologue. The morning takes a deep breath and holds it. A shadow stains the sunny horizon. A black SUV with blue lights flashing. Don't come here, don't come here, don't come here. The air grows stale as the vehicle stops outside our building. The street is so still. It could be playing dead. 5 men in bulletproof vests jump out. That's when I react. I storm into the stairwell and race down from the rooftop. 10 stories down, the agents thunder up. I'm out of breath by the time I burst into the apartment. Ice is here. Ma leaps to her feet and tosses all the food she just made, stacking the utensils in the sink so it looks like the dishes have been piling up. There's pounding on a door 1 level below, and a man's voice bellows out, "We're looking for Guillermo Salazar." We rush to Perla's room, where Ma drops to the floor and rolls under the bed. When it's my turn, I turn to Perla and say, "They can't come in without a warrant. You don't know what they can't do." The horrors Perla left behind when she came to this country darken her glassy gaze. And I realized she never got away. No matter how many borders we cross, we can't seem to outrun the fear of not feeling safe in our own homes. Screaming starts, followed by scuffling. There are other people shouting now, and I recognize the voices of those neighbors whose papers are in order, yelling at the officers in Guillermo's defense. Everyone else is probably hiding like us. I have to pee, and my leg has a cramp, but we stay under Perla's bed for 45 minutes. Ma and I don't even speak until we hear the SUV drive away. When the morning exhales, the street looks untouched, but it's not.
Oh my God. Amazing. I mean, that book just gets you. I just have to, like, when you...
Someone said to me that, like, the beginning felt like they were reading a dystopia, and which is, it's set in now, and or maybe a minute from now, you know, if anything. And it was wild to hear that, because it really hits home that some people are living a dystopia right now, you know, and have been since before COVID. And it's really, when you remove that filter of privilege, it really does feel like, whoa, you know, that's, to me, that part is scarier than any of the fantasy stuff.
It's, yeah. And I also felt like so much of what is being written is being turned into Netflix. And I right away was like, oh my God, is this on Netflix? I know it will be, but it was just amazing. All right. I will pass it over to Ashley for the next question.
That's actually me.
Oh, Teresa, sorry.
When was a pivotal moment in your life when you realized that you were destined to be a writer?
I love that. So I would say there were 2 points. The first being when I was 9. So I was when I first got here, I was 5, so I was put in ESOL classes. And for a few years, I was kind of separated, like, to learn English. And so then I was put back in. Once I went into Gen Pop, I kind of started hearing conversational English, which I didn't hear at home. I didn't hear anywhere. And then in 4th grade, our teacher read to us From Where the Sidewalk Ends. And I heard English for the first time. It blew me away. I was like tearing up and not understanding why. It was something about the rhythm of the lyricism of this language that, I mean, I wanted to use it myself. And I wrote my first bit of creative writing, whatever, in Spanish, of course, so that I still couldn't have written in English. And it was a poem called Si yo fuera la luz, iluminaría la avestruz. And it was just rhymed from there. And my Spanish teacher submitted it to the Miami County Fair. And I got first place. And it was one of those things where I was like, oh my God, I know how to do one thing, there's something I can, that's my thing. And then I just started writing, in both languages and everything. But I think that the moment I knew specifically these series is what I wanted to write was when I read the Harry Potter series. And I think that's very common for a lot of authors of my generation who write YA. Whatever has happened since then, for us, it was a really big influence.
Yeah. And there's so many, when I was growing up, there weren't any young adult, not very many young adult novels. So that's awesome. I'm going to pass it on to Ashley.
Okay. I want to know, where did you get the idea for your story, and what is it influenced by?
Okay. So it's definitely influenced by my immigrant identity, and just the idea of not really fitting in anywhere. But I got the idea actually from a real law, La Ley de Padrinazgo Presidencial in Argentina, which states that the president of the country becomes godparent to the seventh consecutive son or daughter in a family. And as soon as I found that law as a teen, I was fascinated. I read everything I could about it. Every kid that was like, I wanted to understand it. And it didn't take long to get to this whole superstition about seventh children. And whether or not the superstition was like whether or not you can link it directly to this law, it's definitely linked, because even if it was like it influenced something that then influenced this law, it doesn't matter. Like and I think it's really fascinating, as you can see, like with Zodiac stuff too. Like I like to take real world mythologies and kind of explore them. I think I like sociology most at heart, and so I kind of wanted to take this notion and really play it out, manifest it, and see what happens. And more importantly, I threaded it with this kind of more realistic thing, which I'm sure we're gonna get into with the questions.
Thank you. I'll pass it on to Diana. Diane.
That's okay. The magical side of the world in Lobizona is incredibly unique. Where did you get your inspiration for the magic system and world building?
Yes, so thank you. So it was really, really important for me that every single thing to do with their powers have to do with the soil, like the land. It had to be really organic. I didn't want any intermediary, like a magic wand or any kind of like devices or any other like gimmicks, because it felt important that the point I'm driving home is these borders that we envision are so arbitrary. Maps are just men's doodles. Like it means nothing. And we are all born of this planet. Alan Watts said, we're not born into this world, we're born from it. And no one can tell me I belong in one plot of land and not another. I don't buy it. I don't subscribe to it. I don't really subscribe to nationalism much, So I really wanted this to really reflect that they are children of this earth, and we all are. And so the werewolf myth is so easily fits that already, because it's about the moon cycle, and like, to me, the werewolf myth is 100% about womanhood, because the moon cycle, the once a month, the blood, like there's nothing masculine about it. I don't know how it got taken from us, but we do need to reclaim that narrative, and I'm quite serious about it. And so I do believe that. And so that was kind of easy with the menstrual cycle, linking it up, and that became very important. Mm-hmm. And then with the magic, I really did want it to come from the soil in this way. And that's why I kind of went to the 4 elements, but in a kind of like bizarre way,
Yeah, when I started the moon cycles, I was like, oh, this is so on target. For females, it's just like, yep.
Oh my God, totally. And then like the art in this, like with the moon stuff. Yeah. I love what the publisher Wednesday Books did with it.
Yeah. When I saw it too, I thought of my grandmother, my abuela, because my Mama Vita was what we called her, and everything was by the moon. Like she would go outside and she'd go at night and she would be like, va a llover, it's going to rain tomorrow. It always did. Whatever it was like, whoa, she could totally tell by looking at the moon. So.
That's awesome.
And the moon is feminine. I mean, I love that you reclaim that. Like, you're like, oh my God.
That's ours. It's ours. Like, ours. Come on, give us something. Like, this is totally ours. Like, cold-hearted, blah, 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 vampire, like, that could be men. Brain-dead zombies, that could be men. But, like, werewolves? Like, where do they get off?
Okay. So the other non-magical side of the world in Lobizona is deeply rooted in the current realities of our society, and does a great job acknowledging ICE and the current administration's focus on deportation of undocumented immigrants, as well as the immigrant experience. Why was this such an important aspect for your book and its characters? And how did you pull from any personal experience or what is going on in the world to build such a powerful narrative?
Well, this was really important to me. And this is kind of what I was going to go into before but stop myself. But basically, like this this notion of using the fantasy to convey this very realistic issue. And why I specifically wanted to use Argentine fantasy, Argentine mythology, is because of the Guerra Sucia, which, you know, in Argentina, that's like around the time that my parents left the country. And it was a horrible time, you know, when dissidents were just like disappeared. Children were snatched from their families. To this day, the abuelas de la Plaza de Mayo continue looking for their lost grandchildren. It's horrific. And when I saw what was happening at the border here, that the very, very darkness my parents wanted to escape had just popped up here, that was really terrifying to me. And I thought that it was important to use something like this law, this Argentine law that seems so funny and innocent to us, and that's based on this silly superstition that we're like, who could probably believe that? Well, guess what? There's a lot of accounts about some children being abandoned or worse when this was really believed. I don't know if that's real or not, but why would it not surprise me if it was? Like, that's already telling enough. So I wanted to make a point that the line between fantasy and reality is as thin as the sheet of paper you're turning in this book right now. Like, you don't even know, you know, what part is real and what part isn't. And that is kind of the point, because I normally write fantasy to escape this world. Like, I had so much fun writing Zodiac because I didn't have to be here for 4 years, you know? And Lobizona was the complete opposite experience. It was like forcing me to be more present than I've ever been maybe in my life. And that was horrible. You know, it was like a real challenge. I remember being at a writer's conference once, and Libba Bray said, you know, that, you know, when something cost the author something, like when they wrote a book that really cost them, you know it. And I felt like this cost me a lot, you know, and I could feel it, you know, that giving of energy.
Thank you. Wow. Ashley.
Okay, well, I feel like you've already answered this, but I would like to, I guess, reiterate, because I feel like it's important, why you decided to write a fantasy that bridges our world to that of Lobizones and Brujas, out of all the mythical creatures that you could have chosen.
Thank you. Yes, because you know what? This is the book teen Romina deserved, damn it. You know, I didn't have anything. And I recently got asked in this interview, like, what was the first time you saw yourself represented on a show or like in a book? And I queried everyone, my mom, my sister, my friends. I was like, when did you hear me ever say, like, can you tell me, please? Because I don't want to sound illiterate and I have to answer this. And I sound like I haven't read anything ever, but I cannot name one. I cannot name one. And the truth is, like, why didn't I get to have like swoony paranormal creatures who happen to speak Spanish and share my culture and be immigrants? You know, why? Why couldn't I have that? Why did they have to be white and sparkling or whatever else, you know? And then like the magic school thing was also important because it's sort of, you know, people talk about tropes, whatever. And it's like, well, guess what? It doesn't get to be a trope until we all get a chance to ride. And it's like, you have not seen a brown undocumented girl be the chosen one. So sit down, Harry, you know, it's like, let us just have our moment. And I just feel like this is important, you know, like I'm going to at least make sure other teens have the option to read this. They don't have to. I mean, clearly, like, Lobizona can't compete. It's not competing with like the big white series about this stuff, but like, I don't care. You know, it's like, this is going to be for the people who need it. When they need it, it's going to be there. And that is a win, you know?
I mean, I have to say, the white and sparkly really did, I think, resonate with most of us. I'll pass it on to Diane.
Can I say something real quick? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I mean,
go ahead, Teresa.
as a librarian, as a young adult librarian, we do have, I mean, so many kids do feel like they are not represented. And I have teenagers asking, well, I want a fantasy or I want this kind of book, but I want the character to look like me and be like me. And so I think it's awesome. Like, yeah, it's awesome.
I was just
so
thinking
many
that
books this year are coming out that are really representative. Sorry, I interrupted.
No,
I interrupted Dan. I'm sorry.
on target. Yeah, I mean, like when people come up to the reference desk now, we can be like, "Hey, this is for you." And we got to interview Tori Maldonado, and you know, I was telling him I'm so happy that you've written this stuff, and now because young boys would come in of color, and I'm like, "What can I hand you?" Now I have something to hand you. So,
Yes. I'm so glad. Actually, another Argentine book came out last month, Furia by Shamir Said Mendez. That was picked as a Reese Witherspoon Book of the Month pick and everything. And I'm so proud of her, you know, and I, of course, like we knew each other because we're like we were like at the time the only two Argentine YA authors like who knew, you know, so and she wrote this awesome YA, and the fact that like within 1 month of each other, our two books came out like about Argentine characters makes me so happy. Like having her book for me selfishly makes me so happy, you know? So yeah.
I get it.
That's true. Okay. Who was your favorite character to write in either series, and who was the hardest to write?
Okay. So I think, so I'll try to stick to Lobizona, I guess, because, you know, just to not confuse anyone. So I think like my favorite to write was definitely Manu. I just really felt connected to her. I've been very lucky to have some great friendships, but at the same time, at heart, I am a loner. And like, I think that's part of my writer persona. And I really relate to this kind of innate loneliness that she has, where it's like, no matter what, you know, her experience is really just hers. It cannot be shared. And then the fact that like beyond English and Spanish, we really, the language we truly share is this bookish language, you know, because like she just read everything, and that's all of her kind of notions of society and socializing come from shows and books. And I love, you know, getting to write her inner monologue in a way that feels very natural and organic, you know, because like I reference stuff that I know she's read, and so it just feels good. And there's a lot more of that in the sequel, Cazadora. I'm like wondering like if I should have built a bibliography for it, because some of the references I make are gonna go like it's all over the place. But that's kind of the character, that's who she is, you know. And I just felt like the more she embarks on the unknown, the more she's gonna like cling to the references she can make in her head. So yeah, so then the hardest to write, that is a really good question. Hardest to write, there's like a really mean guy in this, like on the team, and I really didn't like writing his perspective at all. And he really represents too many men today, as evidenced by a lot of what's going on. And it really saddens me. And I really didn't want to even try accessing that headspace, because like I see no redemption in it. So I think it was really hard for me to just sit in that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we kind of talked about this. Lobizona, unlike the other fantasy that you write, that was fun, tackles a lot of heavy topics. So how do you decompress from intense writing sessions?
Friends are good. Swimming, office marathons. I just, you know, when I was writing this actually, and I do want to give a quick anecdote about the fact that I wrote an earlier version of this book in 2008, and it was based on the same Argentine law. It was also an immigrant, but it was a different, like, you know, argument and everything, but it was the same sort of elements. And I couldn't find a home for it, you know, and I won't forget an agent who said to me, like, you know, readers here just don't care about Argentine immigrants. And I'm just like, okay, well, you're saying they don't care about me, you know. Like, I don't think you really understood that you were saying that, but yeah, that's pretty much what you just said to me. So it's definitely, it was hard, you know. And coming back to this so Zodiac was in 9 languages, including Spanish. And so I got to go to Argentina. I got to go to Mexico, to Spain, to Puerto Rico, to all these places within. It was awesome. And going back to Argentina, but not as visiting family, rather as someone who's presenting at the Feria del Libro de Buenos Aires, blew me away. It was me seeing my homeland through a completely different lens, meeting readers just like I would here, but that were Argentine. So I'm like talking to these teen, you know, bookish, you know, people geeking out with them. And I'm like, but in our Argentine accent Spanish, you know, and I'm like, whoa, what is this? Who is this world? And I could not shake it when I got back to the States. And even after I wrote the last book and it came out, I kept going back to Argentina, that there's something there. And I think a little bit, maybe it was me thinking about the life that might have been sort of my ghost life. Like, had my parents never left Argentina, would I be one of these kids? You know, like, I don't know. And there was just so much drawing me to this. And I knew this book that, like, I think I even knew it then, that this wasn't over, this fight for this book, you know? And so I sat down, I went at it again. And what's funny, this is actually another author who really helped me when this really got to be too much. Tomi Adeyemi, the author of Children of Blood and Bone. We both went to the same college, but she's younger. And so we met in an alumni party, and this is like before she had an agent, you know, before anything. And I had a couple books out and she was a fan. And so we began this mentorship sort of thing where, like, we'd go out for pizza and I'd like talk to her and I'd take her to local book events, you know, with that Marie Lou or Nicola Yoon or whoever was, like, you know, speaking at, and it was great. And we became really good friends. And then of course she calls me and she's like, okay, I have news, you know, and tells me about her deal and everything. And it was incredible. And so then at this point, when I finished Zodiac, like, now she's sort of like, she's got her book out and she's doing all this meteoric rise. And I'm kind of like coming down from all of this touring and all of everything and thinking, like, what am I going to write next? And we would do a lot of FaceTimes. And, like, I remember us having this FaceTime and being like, I keep trying to come back to this, but because it was at the time that everything was going on in the news, the caravans, the whatever, the horrible language that was being used, like all these words that were just like spears, you know? And this book broke me down, and Tomi was the one who said to me, this is when we fight and this is how we do it. And I was like, you're right. Like, armoring up, you know, like, and so I think author friends were so crucial in that time, you know, and someone like Tomi who understands what it is to be excluded and to have to write your way into the narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that you already touched on this too, but as anybody in your shoes, any author might know, publishing can be the most difficult part of your journey, but also the most rewarding part. So I want to know, what was your favorite part about publishing Lobizona, and what was the hardest part of this journey?
The best part for sure is, like, once the book is out and hearing from readers. I mean, some of the messages I've gotten from people who are undocumented and who have members on, like, I mean, it's made it 100 million fold worth it, you know? I even heard from someone who has a friend who's Argentine who's in one of the detention centers right now. And she really wants to get him a copy, but she's afraid that the agents won't, you know, as soon as they see this, it says undocumented on the cover, you know. So we're talking about if there's a store that will ship it under a different cover or whatever, you know, or what can be done. And so we've been in touch about that. And so, I mean, it's really incredible to, like, connect with people who this story has touched. And, you know, you hope when you write this that these readers are out there, but at the end of the day, the only reader you can count on is you. And so you don't know. And once the book leaves, it's not yours anymore. And so it's really great that it found such great homes. And the worst part has been COVID. Oh my God. Aside from all the personal and horrible stuff of COVID, if we're just looking at it from the Lobizona angle, it pushed the book's release by 3 months. And it was already at the printer. So if you open the book, it actually says that it was printed May 2020, which is a lie. But it's like, it was already in there. Like, we couldn't do anything. Like, what's funny is there's a bunch of Harry Potter references in it. And then over the summer, a lot of stuff happened. And
Yeah.
can we get the book back? Hold up. And they're like, no, like, we can make no changes. I'm like, why is this happening? So yeah, that sucked. Not seeing readers in person really hurts me. I'm one of those authors, I'm very affectionate with my readers. Like, we become best friends. Like, it's always hugs and everything, whatever. So this is killing me.
Wow.
I mean, I can completely agree. And I like what you said, that when you publish it, the book isn't yours anymore, because I guess negatively, yeah, you could think of it, but it's it's a cute way to think of it. Like it's a gift that you're giving to all these people who can relate to it, and some of who actually need this representation, this book, knowing that there's someone out there who's representing them in a larger scale. So I really like that.
Yeah.
And then as I think we're all Latinx people, but we all came from different countries. I'm Cuban, you're Argentine, Diane's
Mexican,
and Ashley's Spanish. And even though we have different cultures and different stories, we still are, we come together, we understand each other, which I like. So, I mean, I totally felt like what Manu was experiencing as an immigrant, even though I'm not Argentinian or a bruja or a Lobizona. I just, I can totally relate.
yeah.
Thank you. And I think,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think that that's important, because I do think that the more personal, the more universal, and so I think like the more nuanced the story, the more we'll relate to it. And I think if I tried to make it more general, it wouldn't have reached anyone. And that's kind of what's so great, because the truth about Own Voices is it's really own voices. Like, I'm not writing for every Argentine or every immigrant, I'm writing about very specific one person. And that's the beauty of Own Voices, that the more own voices we have, the more we're going to accept that we're not caricatures and we're not monoliths, and that like we can be quirky and nuanced and strange and unpredictable and beautiful and flawed and bizarre and mismatched,
Yeah.
And I love that. And
and female and have male characteristics, and we should it's labels.
Yeah,
they're not labels. Everybody, I mean, she is who she is. So
what you were going to say about your cover, I don't think this is one of our questions, but I know when I pushed it out to the librarians, like, hey, feel free to put this on your social media pages, and right away I got some responses saying the cover, because I had a picture of you right next to it, and they were like, this cover is gorgeous and looks like the author, and they were just, you get to have some say in the artwork. And wait, there's more. When I took the cover off, this could just be shipped to the person because it doesn't have the undocumented right here.
That's what I had said too. That's literally, it's so funny you said, I said the same exact thing. So I'm
the
waiting
inside is
to
amazing. Yeah, if you just ship the cover, but if you ship the book, but the cover is just so gorgeous. It's just
so stunning.
There you go.
This artist, Daria Lazatova, she's amazing. Like, I follow her on Instagram now. Her art is incredible. Like, I wish I could afford all her pieces. Like, it's gorgeous. So this was a total shot. I had no say, nothing. The designer was like, she pitched it. She was like, I think this would be a great artist to work with. And I was like, sure, I mean, I honestly didn't think this artist would go for it. I was like, there's no way she's going to do it. So, like, let this designer dream. Like,
I mean, it's amazing. The eyes, so you'll know when you read the book, if you haven't, it's just like, it's great. And you talked about how this was pushed 3 months. You were at Y'all West. I think that's the first time I was able to like catch you when you were being interviewed. And I was like, ordering your book. I'm like, and it was just like, wow.
And I love that every section is different sections are phases.
I love that. I love that. And what's funny is this wasn't even like supposed to be the plan, like to put it in the end pages, the map. But because my acknowledgements were a little long and they came in super late, we didn't have enough pages. And so it was like, the question, like, well, what do we do with the dedication? Do we move the dedication to the copyright page and move everything? But then the managing editor loved the dedication because it's for all our children caught in the crosshairs of nationalism. And she was like, we can't shortchange that, And so in the end, what got kind of changed was the map. And I love that because it kind of so fun. You have to change the orientation and I don't know where people paste book plates, but I think it's awesome.
Yeah. And when I read, I constantly go back when there's maps and things in a book. I was doing that in this book, like, okay, I can imagine her walking there. Okay.
Love that.
All right. Next question. Where are we? There are some really great feminists, which Teresa was talking about, characters in the book in this book, and Manu and her story really go through their ideas and what is considered masculine and feminine. What inspired this underlying theme, and why did you decide to tie it in throughout the book?
Oh, I love writing about, society stuff and binaries, and just like, I love examining identity and why we're so intent on tying our sense of identity to the narratives that precede us, that existed before us, like where we're born, our ancestral memory, our zodiac sign. All of this stuff to me is interesting, because like we have the choice to create our reality every moment with choices, with our actions, but we don't. We turn to these existing narratives. Okay, I just totally lost my brain. I had like another I wanted to tell you 2 ideas, and as a result, my brain was like, idea 1, idea 2, and they ate each other. Can you repeat the end of your question?
Sure. And it is Friday afternoon, so looking at
I just turned in the sequel, by the way. Like I just turned it in, so you're getting me after a week of no sleep whatsoever, you guys. It's been wild.
And you look great for no sleep, which I don't even know if that was one of our questions. Why don't we go to that?
Sure.
The sequel. Is that one of our questions, Teresa and Ashley? I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
So
we'll do that. Because the next
No, not
question
really.
is you already answered.
okay.
Oh
yeah, it was so I think Teresa and Ashley and I would love to know, what are you working on? What's coming out next, and what are you working on? There you go.
Yes. Coming out next is going to be the sequel. And that's basically what I've been working on until right now, and this whole year, and through this whole coronavirus thing. And I'm almost like grateful that I had this to distract me, because it's been a lot. So that's coming out next August. And what I can tell you is it takes place in a supernatural Argentina, which was so much fun to write. And it's called Cazadora. And the other thing I'm doing right now is a short story for a Latinx anthology that is going to be awesome, edited by Zoraida Cordova. And it's called Reclaim the Stars. And we have an incredible lineup of authors, and I am so excited. And I'm actually writing about a character in Cazadora who's one of my favorite characters in the series. So it's like when you connect so much with a character and you're like, I don't think I can let them go quite yet. Like there's more here. And it became this story that I'm working on. I really love. Oh, and it ties into feminism. And that's what I was saying before. Oh my gosh. Yes, because I have so much I want to say, and I can't decide how. So let me just say this about feminism, because yes, this short story actually takes some of the themes that were explored in Lobizona and really furthers it. And because I get to just focus on that as opposed to go in so many directions. But I do think it's important to explore choice in every regard. Being a woman, or being a being, or, a gender nonconforming being, and everything. Just the idea of breaking out of binaries and really exploring who we are in our identities. And I think as women, we did kind of have to form a monolith at a certain point in order to be heard and get the right to vote, get like certain things that like we just were denied. And now we're in this process of detangling ourselves from each other and being like, oh, but like, we're not really that alike at all, actually. I want this, you want that, and we're trying to see how we can go about getting all these million different things and still be making the same amount of progress, and not without having to be a monolith, with us having all this choice. And I think that's like the growing pains that we're going through right now. And I think it's such a fun time to explore that, because I think feminism and being a powerful woman like has infinite definitions and iterations. And sometimes we get stuck in our own version of it. And at the end of the day, the only thing it should be about is choice. Like we should not judge how a person wants to live their life. We should just empower them to make that choice for themselves.
Right. To be the best version of themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm always telling my teenagers that. Yes.
And I think it's great now that men are actually feminists and actually supportive of women, and the teens, the boys on that team
Allies.
who are allies, which is awesome.
Yes. because we can't do this alone. You know, it's the same thing as racism is a white people problem, and sexism is a male problem. It's a patriarchal problem. And so they need to get involved. There is no other choice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wow.
Got so heavy.
Yeah. Where are we at now? Okay, so we're not doing the Raised in Miami was the next question, which she talked about in the folklore of Argentina.
So
go ahead, Teresa. I think
Ashley has a question.
Yes, Ashley.
I mean, you also did kind of talk on this, but I guess we want to know what it was like to go from writing the Zodiac series to the Lobizona. And as you already mentioned, what we can look forward to next. So really the question is, how was that transition from this one series to a completely different series?
It was hard. I'm not going to lie. Like, part of me really was like, did I really say I wanted to write this? Because I think I want to write a 5th Zodiac book, you know? Like, because it's like, the thing about it is once you create a world, like, it's a sunk cost. That's it. Like, you already did it. So now, how much can you get out of it? How many characters can you birth there? How many stories, everything? It just becomes more and more addictive and like more tempting to just keep creating from this fertile soil and Zodiac is 34 inhabited planets. So it's got plenty of fertile soil. Like, I could probably live in that galaxy for the multiple lifetimes. So it was really hard to pull away from it. One of the things I did want to touch on was like, it was going back a little bit to own voices and nuance and everything. And the jump from this to that is when I wrote the Zodiac series, it was really hard for me to be accepted in conversations about diversity, inclusivity, and everything. And I really begged to be involved in them because when I spoke at a few middle schools in East LA, with a group of other authors, we did like a little mini tour organized by, I think it was Once Upon a Time. And I will never forget ever. There was one school that we were, I think, the first authors to ever visit it. These are rowdy and everything. They'd never managed to get it right. And so we went into like the gym. Everyone was there, the whole school. And we walk in like rock stars, like to this thing. And we sit down in the panel and we each talk. And when I said that I was born in Argentina and I had to learn English, all the students started clapping. And it was all like 90% Latino school. The students, not the administrators. Administrators kind of looked around in surprise because these were not kids that were usually thought of like, you could bring an author here to talk in front of. And after, so many kids came up to me to be like, what was it like writing in your second language? Like, how did you feel about this? How did you feel? Like all these kids. And my best friend and critique partner who was there with me was really emotional about it too and everything. And I really thought like after them, like, oh, well, there's no way they're not going to include me in conversations now. Like, we need diverse books that come out, like all this. I couldn't get like involved, like nothing. I was not accepted. And I think it's a problem that I had to write about my own marginalization in order for my personal marginalization to matter. It's really sad. It's really sad that like my marginalized story mattered less because I wrote something based on zodiac signs instead of real countries. That's a problem, a real big problem. And that's why we need to empower more representation and own voices, because I should not have to write about the struggle of being Latinx for me to be valid and my identity to be taken seriously and for me to be able to contribute with others experiences that I know could impact them and inspire them and help them take control, stuff I wish I'd had. And to be shut out of those conversations for whatever superficial reason is actually very problematic, because that's using the same metrics as the other side. That's kind of taking the same tools as the bad guys and applying it to ourselves. And that's the problem. And that's ultimately my problem with the entire patriarchy. It's that, let's say there's like 10 seats at a table and only one goes to a marginalized and or woman identity. Well, guess what? We're all fighting for that one seat, because we forget that nobody said those other 9 had to go to a white male cisgender, straight person. Like nobody said that. They told us that. And so we're told to fight for but like, what if we just stopped being gaslit? What if we just said, no, you know what? We're going to go for the whole table. Or like, we're going to add a new table to this. Those are the issues that really move me, as you can tell, and like drive me to write these stories.
Okay. You have another question, Ashley?
I do. And this may go into everything that you just talked about being marginalized and everything, but I noticed that with your Zodiac series, you went under a pen name as an author, but for this series, you used your real name. And I wanted to know if there was some sort of symbolism behind this decision or what drove you to make this change.
Just sappy, silly woman stuff because Russell's my ex. You know, actually, this touches on something on my publication journey, which is worth mentioning because there's a lot of people who hit it big and hit it fast, and that's wonderful and wonderful. Some of us struggle, and I think that that's like so equally acceptable, and you should be totally fine with that, and you should realize that there is no expiration date on talent. And so for me, Zodiac, before Zodiac, I'd written 5 complete books, all of which were rejected. All of them. As complete books. This wasn't just like, let me give you an idea. And no. So 8.5 years of my life of rejection after rejection after rejection. I was so depressed. I was at my lowest. And I was working at this movie trailer place and, you know, write every night and weekend, all I did was write. And my boyfriend at the time was named Russell, and he was a Libran, like the love interest in Zodiac. And he said to me, you know, you talk about your plan A for life, this plan of being a published author, but you live your plan B every day. Like, at what point do you go for what you want? And I was like, how dare you? Like, I've been published. I've tried writing 5 books. You've seen the rejections. You've seen me sobbing. Like, how dare you? You know, I was just like getting so worked up. And then he's like, all I mean is like, you're not giving it 100% because you're giving your job this much, you're giving this, like, maybe you just need to go all in. And I'm like, well, what about like life and expenses and everything? And he was like, I've got you. So he supported me. And that's 2 months later, I was signing a contract for Zodiac. 2 months. So I really like, So I was like, you know what? Like, you need to be on this with me. We got to share this, you know, because he made it possible and he supported me through so much of it. And he like, you know, like the weapons, you know, I was like, I don't know what to name this weapon. Like, who do you think came to the rescue, you know? And so, you know, I definitely, and I also kind of, I'm a huge, like, I like the alliteration of it, you know? So yeah, but then of course I didn't anticipate that this would be a 4-book series, and you know, and I adore him, but we're not together anymore. So, like, you know, I don't want to have his like name tied to mine forever. And then with Lobizona, it's such a personal book that I really was like, this has to be my name. Yeah.
Okay, that was.
Oh my gosh, my phone just
that was a good question. All right. Well, thanks for answering so many of our questions. We should check out and see if we see some from the audience from Facebook and YouTube. Lots of love. One of our librarians, Alicia Rodriguez, is sending you, Romina. So she's out there, I know, pushing the book. Let's see. Nancy sent something. Loved Lobizona and really looking forward to the sequel,
Cazadora.
And, let's see what else. Teresa, you want to read some? Let's see. What else? Who else? There's 2. Love.
Go ahead.
Let's see. Gazelle wrote, but there are. She was talking about. I think when you were talking about immigrants, there are very different types of immigrants in Miami, blue and red. Has that affected you? Well, it said her.
Yes, it has really affected me. I mean, I feel like I'm shouting into the void sometimes, you know, I mean, like being in LA, it was like an echo chamber, you know, and then coming here through all of this stuff to, you know, be with my mom, you know, and everything, like, you know, obviously my family's not the issue, I'm glad, but there's definitely a lot over here that's complicated, you know, and a lot of that is also the older generation Cubans who like have the Castro stuff and the Bay of Pig stuff and like everything, you know, so present in their minds.
That's like me and my mom.
Yeah. And it's a different world. And I just wish we could like, I don't know how to express it anymore. The other day I actually ventured out and I don't know why I must look like I'm like, talk to me about politics, but this older gentleman just started talking to me about politics, and it was like so obvious. He's like trying to show me videos to convince me. And I'm like, sir, please. Like, I don't know how to stop you at this point. But it is like a generational thing in Miami. It is the war of the ages.
Yeah.
All right. She also said I love the land. I'm assuming in your books. I love the land. And a lot of love from LAPL's Hyde Park branch. Woohoo! And then what else we have here? What advice would you give for aspiring author? Which you kind of have. Don't give up.
Don't give up. Yeah, don't give up. Because like, that's all I can say. I almost gave up so many times. And if I had, I would not be here right now. So like, you know, it just takes one yes. So just hang on there. Like, it doesn't matter how many rejections you get. Nobody will ever know. They'll only know about the one acceptance.
Renee Antonio said, Romina, with a happy face. And Augustine, a strong Virgo, question mark. Wow, what is that?
Wait, what?
A strong Virgo, question mark. What? Wow, what is that?
What is a strong Virgo?
Yeah, that was the question. Okay.
Sounds like a Jeopardy question. What is a strong
All right.
Virgo?
Let's see, what time do we have here? Oh, 4:52. Okay, we have time for some rapid fire questions.
I'm on less than 20% battery. So I'm hoping if this does die for any reason, I just want you guys to know that this has been amazing and I did not mean to bounce.
Right. Okay, so if she bounces, we love you. We hopefully will have you back, maybe have you on a panel.
I would love to.
Yeah, we had Gabby Rivera, and she was like, I'm going to be on a panel. And I said, yes, it would be. Isabel was up. We've had some amazing authors, so thank you for being part of your author. In case you. So here's some first questions.
Okay.
Favorite dish?
Favorite dish, milanesas con papas fritas.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite color?
Favorite color, green.
Okay. Mountains or beach?
Beach.
Sushi or tacos?
Oh, whoa. That is like the hardest question I've ever been asked. I don't know that I could pick. I really don't, you guys.
And all the authors are always like, that's not fair. Okay.
Yeah, that's the hardest question I've ever gotten.
Cake or ice cream?
Ice cream.
Ebook or book?
Book.
This was the one I think I sent you as an example. Pumpkin spice or café de olla?
Café de olla.
All right. So we want to thank you for joining us today. And we hope we enjoyed their conversation with Romina Garber. And we can't wait for you. We'll have to have you back. And maybe, oh my God, maybe Ashley will be in college then and can bring some more college friends. And
Hopefully.
That was awesome.
We'll see. Although there's another question in the chat that I think
go ahead, go for
you
it.
might be interesting. It says, good evening. Leticia said, good evening. Do you often talk at schools? I feel that talking about the writing topic is very important for the younger generation.
About writing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you talk at schools and give motivational speeches.
I do talk at schools. I do school visits. I actually just did one last week in a middle school here in Miami. And it was so much fun. It was a creative writing class. I didn't have a creative writing class until college. Like if I had one and I'd been able to talk to a published writer, it would have just been a dream. And so we had such a great time. And right now I'm teaching a weekend creative writing workshop for the Miami Book Fair. And so it's a 3-parter on world building. So I broke it down, it's for teens and it's free. And like the first Saturday I taught setting, and then last Saturday I taught character, and then tomorrow's the last part and it's on plot. And so I was telling these kids about it. And then today the teacher sends me that they all wrote the prompts. So like the prompts I've been giving out in these workshops, like in class, she played my videos and they all did the assignments, and she emailed all the assignments to me. And it's amazing. And it just like gave me life, you know? So yes. So tomorrow's the last course. So anybody interested, it's just miamibookfair.com/speak up. So yeah, and then you know, you can find all the links for the previous ones, but it's been so much fun. I'd never taught before, and so teaching craft and kind of downloading my hacks and all my tricks to people has been really fun, especially for teens, you know, like doing it with teens. So yeah.
Wow. Are you going to be coming back to LA, or are you going to come after COVID?
I hope so. All my possessions are there. They're in the storage space. They've been there now so long. I'm like, please, it's all my books, like all my books, all the signed books I own, everything. I'm like freaking out. Yes, I hope to be there.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you get to vote in Florida or California?
Yeah,
Florida.
The biggest silver lining of being here. I was not going to be here and not make my vote count. No, I did whatever it took.
Good job.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the snob in me is like, I miss my California license. I'm gonna cry, but I'll get it back. It's all good. I'll be there one day.
Cool. We want you back. We want you back.
I want to be back.
Okay, so keep an eye if there's any more questions, and I'll just try to wrap. Again, we would like to thank our donors, the Library Foundation, and just so you know, the reason we do this is because the donor remembers coming to a library program where she was inspired by an author. So yay for her for giving back. And remember, you can request books on lapl.org and pick them up at our Library to Go site. And Teresa actually works at one of our Library to Go sites. Or you can also use your library card to check out an e-copy or other our other amazing online resources. And please make sure to join us for our next Your Author program with children's author Kelly Starling Lyons on Friday, November 6th. So not next weekend, next Friday, but the Friday after, November 6th at 4 o'clock, streaming on the library's YouTube and Facebook channels. And I also want to mention that starting next week, check out Hollow Week programming, Monday to Friday at 2 o'clock. And I'm excited about the Hollow Steam program on Wednesday, October 28th at 2 o'clock. And what else are we doing? There's so much. And there's a special event Monday, October 26th at 4 o'clock, Reader's Theater with Joe Ballarini, Babysitter's Guide to Monster Hunting. And it's also a Netflix film right now. You guys could check it out. And on Friday, October 30th, 4 o'clock, author program with A Tale of Witchcraft, which is a New York Times bestseller, author Chris Colfer. And finally, the Halloween party on Saturday, August 31st at 11 a.m. I'm going to be there, kicking off the program with a bilingual Witch's Little House story with my buddy Celia. And then there's a Choose Your Own Adventure part of the Halloween program, a puppet show, and a virtual costume party, parade, and dance party. So be there, Halloween. And then November 2nd, Monday, for Dia de los Muertos, there's going to be some amazing programming at 5 o'clock, I believe it starts. So please come back and visit LAPL. We have so much. Thank you, Ashley. We are so proud of you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Teresa.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
And Romina. And thanks to Neil for having our back on StreamYard. And have a great weekend, everybody. See you next time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.